Beep 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 beep. Jester, hello, Canada. Oh, Canada. Great song from my favourite album by the unbelievably irreplaceable Joni Mitchell. Do you know any woman that's never sat in a bath with a glass of wine and a candle on the side and listened to the album Blue by Joni Mitchell hasn't lived, has she? You know, Joni Mitchell, come on. Apparently she's looked at life from both sides now. Stop it! Good morning all. We're going to talk about Canada, right? A peaceful country. People who don't get easily wound up. You know, they're very laid back, the Canadians, aren't they? You know, very laid back. There's a scrap of brewing. So, thank you to all my Canadian warrior teachers. Hello, you lot. There's a scrap brewing, and I think it's going to be an important one. There is. Wait. Just to give this some context, right? I keep telling the GC folk, you haven't left the left left's you, right? Because the Overton window's now stretched so far that they've got the, you know, the critical justice knob right up their arse at the far left, right? That's how, you haven't left them, right? So if that's happening, right, then what's going to happen is that the other people that are going to be affected are those that would be perhaps people of faith who would have a particular way they live their life. People of faith. So what we're seeing in Canada here is a case that's come up that appeared in a Substack by a guy called James Pugh. And this is about whether or not the Canadians will stand with Josh Alexander. Now, Josh Alexander strikes me as being a very strong young man indeed. He's 16 years old and he is a Christian. Okay? Now, gay people have done more than their fair share of bashing religious people, including me, which was done many years ago because they gave us a bit of a hard time for a while. Now they don't. You get the odd weirdo in, you know, town, stood on a box with a Bible, and the gays will go to hell. So you get quite a bit of that going on sometimes, but it's very rare. It's really, truthfully, it's rare. Mostly, you know, remember when we used to live together in peace and harmony? Right before the train, as Douglas puts it, went past the station and everybody got screwed again by bloody activists. So it says here, at some point it was bound to happen. In many ways it is shocking it took so long. Link in the Dubras. This is Canada. We don't often get riled up over political issues. A notable exception was the freedom protest in Ottawa, the trucker convoy, which Jordan Peterson spoke about. In Canadian education, however, there has not been the same level of organised outrage over the encroachment of gender ideology and critical race theory into the culture of K-12 schools that we've seen explode south of the border. They're referring to the grassroots movement of parents who are bringing an end to, you know, all critical social justice in schools, and some fantastic legislative bills being written around this to get this awful ideology out. Once we define it, once we get it defined, and I think we're seeing that happening now in America, they're actually beginning to define what the tenets are of this dangerous cult. We can get it prescribed by Prevent, and that puts an end to it because anybody practicing it will be done under the Terrorist Act. That's really where we need to go with this. So Josh is 16, right? And he's been suspended, then officially excluded from school, bullied by other students, told to go kill himself, arrested by the police for trying to return to class, effectively ostracised. A 16-year-old. The same woke movement that inspires bullies across Canadian cancel culture is ultimately responsible for this travesty, right? So that's what happened. So what thought crime did Josh Alexander commit at St. Joseph's Catholic High School in Renfrew, Ontario? Expressing his Christian belief that there are only two genders. Canada freely uses the word gender to mean sex. And further stating that people who are born male should use male washrooms only. Isn't it weird? In Canada, it's a 16-year-old boy is pointing this out and it looks like it's going to be a big thing. In Britain, Nicola Sturgeon's just had to give up her job because she can't tell the difference between a fanny and a cock. Bye-bye, wee Jimmy Cranky. I love it. So he's, you know, they should be in the male washrooms only. This is a concern shared by the majority of Canadians, yet of all places, it's deemed unacceptable in a Catholic high school. And then here the question is asked, how is this possible? Well, cultism, that's how it's possible. the woke movement is out of control. Now, what's going to be interesting is Canada, or as I've heard people call it, some wags have called it Canada. Canada is well ahead of us on the lunacy scale with that very strange and deranged creature Trudeau, who is running this ostensibly very civilized country, right? So Trudeau's doing the whole bit. I think he'd be gone shortly. He's got to be next on the list. They got rid of, who was that? Jacinda Ardern, the one that's in New Zealand. She's gone. Haven't she? Sturgeon's gone, right? The trans nutters have turned on Starmer. Just glorious to watch. The whole thing's fracturing, right? It's beginning to fracture. Starmer's going to have to he's going to have to put his bloody socks up, isn't he, now that they've had the all clear from the EHRC. Right? The all clear from the EHRC and that they're ready to go. You know, they've got rid of the anti-Semites in their midst and moving forward. Right? So if that's true, Starmer's going to have to get these damn twats out, and they'll split themselves into various factions and then, you know, get stoned and drunk and hit someone and disappear. That's what that. Get them out! These lunatic, lefty, mad people. So what they've said here, what they've gone on to say is, the racial reckoning of 2020, I like that. The racial reckoning of 2020. What they really mean is the creation of a false martyr in George Floyd, and then the followers of that false martyrdom who caused the trouble, who we've now given more power than they deserve. They don't deserve any power at all. What they deserve is 3 meals a day and a small room. Right? So the racial reckoning of 2020, which saw the social justice phenomenon kick into overdrive, seems now more like a bus with a broken accelerator pedal. Brilliant turn of phrase here. With its throttle stuck wide open. As the velocity of this woke bus continues to increase, it rapidly loses control. This is so good. As it stands, the bus has reached the point where it is impossible to navigate. And where it might end up is impossible to predict. However, it continues to try desperately to avoid the speed bumps and roadblocks erected by concerned citizens who have decided it's time to put the brakes on the social justice movement. Canada is waking up, folks. Canada is, you know, the sleepy bear of the north is waking up. What the question that's being asked is, this young man who's a Christian, will people who are Canadian who are not Christian stand by the young man? And you'd hope so. I'm a gay man. I've got no love for religious organisations, even though that I have an appreciation of the beauty of religion generally and its capacity to tell us so much about ourselves and our history. But I have very little truck with religious organisations. I'd stand by him, would you? I'm a gay man. I'm a sodomite. I'd stand by... I'm not actually. But I'd stand by him, wouldn't you? I would. Would you? Here's the question. So, the legacy media, they're saying, is nowhere to be found. The legacy media is quiet about this. Oh, gosh. But yet the New York Times, is, you know, lefty one that I talked about the other day, is now saying, hang on a minute, I got this wrong. Is Canada waking up? And I think there is the first shoots of recovery from the madness and the insanity of critical social justice. There's a video for you to watch, right? It's all in the article which I put in the Dubris for you. But it is worth mentioning that there's a great meme doing the rounds, which you'll see in the article, which is from the Twitters, right? Do you recall Clive and Dennis are very fond of talking about this individual, and I've talked about this individual with Clive. Do you recall the rather marvellous Titzilla, who was a Canadian teacher with a big, huge pair of breasts that went skydiving? If they'd have come off, they'd have destroyed a building. So there's a picture of him, right? And next to the picture of him is a picture of young Josh. Looks like it could be Josh. It might be, it might not. It might just be an average teenager. But I think it's probably not. Was his name Josh? No, yeah, it was Josh Alexander. So there's a picture, and they're next to each other, right? And it says on the left-hand side, which is Titzilla, allowed to teach class. With his big tits, you know, cutting wood. Do you remember? I thought he was going to have those nipples off. And then on the right, it's got not allowed to attend class, and just got a picture of Josh. There it is. There's the ridiculousness of wokeism, critical social justice, and these absolutely insane people that are pushing it, who are in every strata of society. It's time to start firing your middle management, folks. Start with HR. Start with HR. Find an HR company that doesn't believe in any of this and outsource your HR. That's my advice. Then, if you've got anything with the word EDI in the title, or DI, or whatever it is they want to bloody call themselves, or social emotional learning, that's a good one, right? Get them out. Get them out. Fire them, right? And make affinity groups against company policy. Do it. Do it today, because if you don't get these people out, you won't have a company. That's the way the game is played, folks. So the Catholic School Board has utterly failed to vet its teachers. If they are by name Catholic, they are by action atheist, says Michael Thiessen, the Liberty Coalition of Canada. There's a link here to a deeper dive and an examination of the religious implications of a woke Catholic board. And Josh posted yesterday to his Facebook page, right? He's 16. We are young Canadians who've taken up the responsibility of igniting the Canadian youth by an awakening to the corrupt agenda being forced upon them. We stand against this indoctrination. We stand against the attack on our faith, and we stand against the abolishment of our liberties. The majority of the population kneels to the corrupt system, but not us. We kneel before God and before him alone. We will never bow to social pressure. We will not break to the threats of a woke mob. We are engaging in legal, political, spiritual and ideological battles against the evil forces that be. Our objective is to give all the youth who are willing to make a stand the connections, platform and support that they require. We are a call to action, a rallying point for Christian youth. The torch has been passed to us. It is our duty and obligation to make a stand for what is right. And if Christians don't respond right now, it will be too late. Save Canada. 16. Now, what the nutters will say is, well, he didn't write that. His parents wrote that. So what? So what? Right? He's on the right side of history. He's not back. What's her name? Thunder Thighs. Greta. Dust anyone? Green Thunder Thighs woman. He's not her. He's not a pawn. Doesn't sound like a pawn to me. Right? Something's happened to him. She's just a pain in the ass. Something happened to him. He was excluded. He's been othered by nutters in the alphabet soup. They'll call him a fascist. He's not fighting for anything like that. He's not a fascist. He's not far right in any way. What he's fighting for is liberal values. Because Josh, if you only kneel to God and if you believe in God and you believe in the teachings of the Bible, I have no problem with you at all. None. If that's what you want to do, you do it. That's how we work. We live our lives. Canada's waking up. The bear is awake. The white bear of the north. And I think that's terribly exciting news. And I hope that my Canadian warrior teachers, some of them will take heart that this may well be one of those cases that will hinge on how far Canada will let this utter lunacy and what I essentially see as a kind of educational terrorism go on. Anyway, we've had news from the USA, news from Canada this week. There may be trouble ahead. But this is the trouble we want. No debate's over. Get your boxing gloves on, folks. We're coming for you. See you later.